The Red Army's decision to deploy women in direct combat wasn't desperation. It was a calculated move, creating a silent, precise, lethal weapon. Soviet female snipers weren't auxiliaries or propaganda. They were integral to the war machine, pushing across Eastern Europe into the heart of the Reich. Their training was merciless. Targets, enemy officers, strategic positions. Their effectiveness sparked violent reprisals. Many fell, others were captured. How did this tactical elite form? What set them apart? What was their brutal fate? In March 1942, as the Red Army bled on multiple fronts, an unprecedented order reshaped the Eastern Front. The People's Commissariat of Defense authorized recruiting women for direct combat. This was a strategic move, recognizing female combatants' advantages in extreme precision roles. Marshal Clement Voroshilov signed the decree, setting criteria for recruits: 20 to 45 years old, superior physical aptitude, basic education, and a rigorous 4-day selection. The tactical premise: create specialized soldiers. They would disorganize enemy command by surgically eliminating strategic targets. This policy wasn't improvisation. In the 1930s, under Voroshilov, Soviet High Command developed sniper doctrine as a psychological weapon. Eliminating officers, NCOs, and technical specialists could paralyze enemy units, creating disproportionate impact. Women held natural advantages for this warfare: greater emotional stability under pressure, superior concentration, physical endurance, and exceptional stealth and camouflage. Frontline commanders reported higher success rates in female sniper units. The Central School for Women. Snipers opened in Beshnyaky, east of Moscow, in May 1942. It became the hub for advanced tactical training. Programs lasted 3 to 6 months. The curriculum was exhaustive: ballistics, distance calculation, wind compensation, camouflage, infiltration, escape, and terrain supervision. Daily, cadets endured forced marches, shooting practice at 400 and 800 meters, topography and survival training. Director Nora Yegorova, a Spanish Civil War veteran, enforced iron discipline. Failing cadets were reassigned. Practice fields at Casino recreated combat. Trenches, ruins, forests. Cadets survived a week alone, honing long-range shots and covert operations. Standard armament was the Mosin Nagant 1891-30 rifle with a 3.5x PU telescopic sight, effective up to 800 meters. This rifle, adapted in 1932, was the most reliable precision weapon. The PU sight was permanently mounted for consistent stability. Each sniper also received a Tokarev TT3 pistol, camouflage uniform, and survival gear, waterproof canvas, dry rations, combat knife, compass, field logbook. A foldable rifle tripod and visual disruption elements were provided. Every sniper carried a kill logbook, signed by superiors after each confirmed elimination. Independent observers verified deaths, ensuring accurate statistics. Graduated snipers deployed strategically, typically in groups of 2 or 3 per division. They operated from elevated positions or enemy blind spots. Their effectiveness was measured not just in kills, but in the psychological impact on enemy troops, forcing exponential precautions. Key fronts included Kalinin, Belarusian, and Ukrainian. The 100th Female Sniper Battalion, formed June 1943, accumulated over 12,000 confirmed kills, symbolizing Soviet hidden power. Female snipers represented a silent revolution in Soviet military doctrine. Not propaganda, but a tactical decision based on concrete results. They became Stalin's silent weapon, a lethal force in humanity's most brutal conflict. Rosa Georgievna Shanina. Her name wasn't hidden, but meticulously recorded. Her story shows how a young kindergarten teacher became one of the Eastern Theater's deadliest hunters. Born April 3rd and 24 in Zhedma, Vologda Oblast, Shanina grew up in a logging family. After teacher training, she taught in Arkhangelsk. War erupted. In December 1941, her brother Mikhail died at Leningrad. This fueled her decision. She volunteered repeatedly but was rejected due to age. Women under 20 were not permitted for direct combat. Shanina persisted. In 1942, she enrolled in Vyseobok, basic military training. Her persistence paid off in 1943. She was accepted into the Central School in Moscow. Her training was brutal. For 4 months, Shanina transformed into a precision instrument. She mastered rifle ballistics, camouflage and infiltration, becoming invisible. She graduated with honors in April 1944, excelling in long-range shooting. Instructors invited her to train, but Janina requested an active front. Her record confirms assignment to the 184th Rifle Division, 3rd Belarusian Front, April 2, 1944, as a sergeant. Her first deployment was during the Bagration Offensive, June in 1944. There, against retreating German defences, Janina made her first documented kills. Her first victim fell April 5th near Vitebsk. This began a military career lasting barely 9 months, making her a Soviet sniper legend. Over 3 months, she joined over 12 documented operations. Reports confirm 13 registered kills by July. Her combat effectiveness earned her the Order of Glory 3rd Class, April 18, 1944, rare for a young soldier. The Battle for Vilnius, July 1944, was a turning point. During urban combat, she was credited with 12 more eliminations, raising her total to 25. She began appearing in Krasnaya Zvezda, recognized for urban effectiveness. Janina truly distinguished herself with the doublet. This tactical innovation involved firing twice within the same respiratory cycle. She used her body's minimal oscillation to place 2 projectiles on single or multiple targets in rapid succession. This was extraordinarily difficult with manual reloading rifles. Janina used the doublet to eliminate 2 aligned soldiers, or quickly hit a second target. Her field records document at least a dozen successful applications. Near Kaunas, she eliminated a German commander and his observer in under 5 seconds, verified by a Soviet artillery observer. As Soviet forces pushed into the heart of the Reich, Janina found herself in East Prussia by September 1944. This was the deadliest theatre, a landscape of dense forests, shattered ruins, and fortified positions honed over years. Here, German troops defended their homeland with fanatic desperation. It was in East Prussia that Janina reached the peak of her lethal activity and where she met her end. Operations demanded maximum precision and cold blood. The Germans, now fearing Soviet snipers, developed specific countermeasures, specialized hunting teams, artillery strikes on suspected positions, and their own trained snipers. By late November 1944, regimental records showed Janina with 42 verified kills. Her tally rose to 51 in December, and finally 59 in January, her last recorded count. Each elimination was meticulously logged by her observer and validated in daily combat reports. Throughout her time on the front, Janina kept a campaign diary, parts of which survive at Arkhangelsk State University. It's a fascinating blend of logistical records, tactical notes, weather observations, mission names, and reflections on her military decisions. The diary also contained technical notes on ballistics, sight adjustments for various conditions, and simplified formulas for calculating distances. Notably, Janina insisted on recording only kills she witnessed directly, and that were verified by officers. She wrote in her diary that she would never count a kill she hadn't seen or that wasn't backed by witnesses, because the numbers were not medals but human lives. This meticulousness set her apart from other snipers who sometimes included estimates. The end came on January 27, 1945, near Ilmsdorf, during an advance through marshy terrain. Her unit came under German mortar fire while crossing an exposed area. Her artillery commander fell wounded by shrapnel. Janina, under continuous enemy fire, crawled to his position, though she had no military obligation to do so. Captain Vasily Merkulov, who signed the subsequent report, stated, "Janina covered the wounded officer with her own body while others attempted an evacuation. During this act, she was hit by mortar fragments in her lower back and torso. The wounds caused massive internal bleeding. She died hours later, unable to receive adequate medical attention due to the battle's intensity. Her comrades buried her near the combat site in an improvised grave, marked by her bayonet and identification tag. Her death was formally recorded on January 28, 1945, exactly 3 months before the war's end in Europe. Aliya Nurmagomedovna Moldagulova's story is an extraordinary personal transformation, from Kazakh orphan to an 18-year-old combat fatality. It illustrates how war forged lethal soldiers from impossible circumstances. Born October 25, 1925, in Black District, Aktobe region, Aliya lost her mother young. Her father was arrested during the Stalinist purges. These tragedies made her a state orphan. She moved to Leningrad under the care of her uncle, military man Severe Moldagulov. She was registered at Leningrad's orphanage number 46, living a structured but impersonal life. The war brutally altered her fate. With the siege of Leningrad in 1941, Aliya evacuated with thousands of other orphans to Yaroslavl Oblast, far from the German chokehold. This mass evacuation saved her, but isolated her forever. In 1942, barely 16, below the minimum age for combat, she volunteered at a recruitment office in Yaroslavl. What convinced the officers wasn't pity or propaganda, but her outstanding academic qualifications, excellent physical condition, and natural marksmanship evident during preliminary shooting tests. She was admitted to the Specialized Academy in mid-1943. Her training lasted 5 intensive months, transforming her. During ballistic tests at the casino practice range, Aliya showed a dispersion deviation under 1.5% at 600 meters, exceptional even for veteran shooters. This precision earned her a personalized rifle, its telescopic sight calibrated to her individual shooting statistics. Upon graduating, she was assigned to the 54th Independent Rifle Brigade of the 2nd Army Northwestern Front, under General A. Novikov. This unit operated in hotly contested sectors, where fighting was an endless cycle of attacks and counterattacks through swampy forests and fortified villages. Her first active mission was in September 1943, in the Beliki-Yaluki region, near the Russian-Estonian border. In her first month, she killed 11 enemy soldiers. Each elimination was verified in daily battalion reconnaissance reports. These early kills immediately established her reputation as an elite shooter. In October, she participated in liberating strategic villages between Nevel and Pustoshka, a sector where wooded and swampy terrain favoured sniper operations. Moldagulova and her squad functioned as a mobile unit of specialised shooters, eliminating enemy observation points and providing lethal cover for advancing rifle units. Her effectiveness was such that the 5th Battalion's November 1943 record documented her assignment of a personal observer assistant and exceptional authorization to operate autonomously. This tactical autonomy was rarely granted to such young soldiers, but her results justified the trust. During the brutal winter of 1943-4, her activities focused on defensive positions in the frozen forest near Lake Neville. In Arctic conditions, with temperatures plunging to -40 degrees, she eliminated several German artillery observers and 2 enemy snipers in precision duels that sometimes lasted for days. Archived records show that by December 1943, her documented kill count reached 56 enemies. These annotations excluded estimates. Each kill was personally signed by the section commander, Lieutenant Ivan Golikov, whose signature appears on all preserved documents. This meticulous documentation guaranteed absolute accuracy of statistics. The operation that would mark the end of Aliya Moldagulova's life began on January 11, 1944. Her 54th Rifle Battalion launched an offensive to break the German defensive line near the village of Kazachika in the Novo-Sokolniki region. The objective was to cross enemy positions and establish a bridgehead for the main Soviet advance. That day's operation report details how Moldagulova's unit was intercepted by a heavy MG-34 machine gun fire from a fortified trench dominating the entire advanced sector. The enemy position was perfectly camouflaged, invisible to Soviet observers, but its fire inflicted severe casualties on the assault troops. Moldagulova received orders to neutralize the position from a flank. According to subsequent reports signed by Captain Anatoly Surov, she crawled over 200 meters under continuous enemy fire, crossing completely exposed terrain where any movement could be fatal. Her approach took over 3 hours, advancing centimeter by centimeter as a German fire intensified. Once in position, she systematically eliminated 3 German soldiers at the trench's ends before firing on the main machine gun operator. Her shots were executed with the characteristic precision she had developed over months of training and combat. However, a German grenade impacted near her position, wounding her with shrapnel in her left shoulder and right thigh. Despite her injuries and blood loss, Moldagulova continued advancing towards the enemy trench. She exchanged her rifle for a captured MP-40 submachine gun, adapting instantly to enemy weaponry to continue the fight. In the ensuing hand-to-hand combat, according to Lieutenant Golikov's testimony in the official regimental report, she eliminated 3 more German soldiers and helped clear the trench completely. Her action allowed the rest of the Soviet platoon to advance and take the position. But Moldogalova received a direct shot to the abdomen during the final moments of the fight. She was immediately evacuated to a field medical post where military surgeons fought for hours to save her life. However, her internal injuries were too severe. She died on January 14, 1944, 4 days after turning 18. Her service record, officially closed that day, registered 78 enemies killed by firearms in less than 5 months of active operations. This figure made her one of the Red Army's deadliest snipers, especially considering her youth and brief military career. Tatiana Nikolaevna Baramsina's fate stands out among documented atrocities against captured Soviet snipers for its systematic brutality and deliberate sadism. Her story is a testament not only to an exceptional combatant, but also to how the war on the Eastern Front transcended all conventions for treating prisoners of war. Born December 19, 1919 in Glazov, Udmurt Autonomous Soviet Socialist Republic, Tatiana grew up in a family valuing education and public service. She graduated from the Molotov Pedagogical Institute as a geography teacher, a profession that provided topographical and orientation knowledge crucial to her later military career. When Operation Barbarossa transformed the Soviet Union into a massive battlefield, Tatiana decided to contribute in multiple ways. First, she enrolled in a 6-month night nursing course, organized by the Soviet Ministry of Health, becoming a certified field medical assistant. Simultaneously, she registered for a sniper course organized by the WWII Society. Her geographical knowledge and natural coordination immediately made her stand out. During long-range target practice, Tatiana demonstrated exceptional aptitude, placing her among the top candidates of her class. Her ability to calculate distances, compensate for wind, and maintain accuracy under pressure made her an ideal candidate for advanced training, which she entered in June 1943. The subsequent training was exhaustive and transformative. For 5 months, Tatiana mastered standard weaponry, developed advanced camouflage and infiltration techniques, and honed survival skills in adverse conditions. Her shooting record from the practice fields showed 92% accuracy against moving targets between 400 and 600 meters. She completed her training in late 1943 and was deployed to the 252nd Rifle Regiment of the 70th Division, part of the 3rd Belarusian Front, under Major General Ivan Galanin. During her first 3 months on the front, she accumulated 16 verified kills, as recorded in daily reports signed by her unit commander. In mid-1944, the Red Army launched Operation Bagration, a massive offensive to liberate Belarus and destroy Army Group Center. Tatiana was assigned to an assault operation behind enemy lines near the village of Pekalin, aiming to secure a strategic crossing before the main Soviet army arrived. Her battalion, the 3rd of the 2nd Regiment, was transported overnight across a river using light boats. They were instructed to hold the position for at least 24 hours, providing enough time for main forces to establish additional bridgeheads. On July 4, 1944, Tatiana deployed with the foreign soldiers in a wooded sector near the village. That day, she used her rifle with lethal precision, killing several German soldiers while providing tactical cover for her squad's advance. By day's end, the unit had suffered severe casualties. Several wounded soldiers were gathered in an improvised shelter under an abandoned farm shed. The shelter quickly became a provisional medical post where Tatiana applied her nursing training. Her dual capacity as a sniper and a medical assistant made her crucial for the unit's survival. She decided to remain at the post to assist the wounded and continue fighting in case of an enemy counterattack. In the early hours of July 5th, German troops launched a massive counterattack with mortar fire and hand grenades. According to Lieutenant Anatoly Borisov's report, Tatiana operated a light DP-27 machine gun to cover the shelter's right flank, eliminating 3 enemies attempting to approach the most vulnerable sector. When the machine gun was disabled by enemy fire, she immediately resorted to her rifle, holding off attackers from a sandbag-fortified position. With only 14 cartridges left and no possibility of reinforcements, Tatiana resisted for over 2 hours against superior forces. According to the official report signed by the 70th Division commander, Colonel Vladimir Zamjatin, she was last seen throwing 2 hand grenades at an enemy trench approaching from the northeast, eliminating several German soldiers in an explosion heard kilometers away. Military records indicate that between 11:45 and 12:10, the post was finally assaulted and overrun by superior German forces. Most of the wounded and Soviet defenders were immediately executed on site following German practice of taking no prisoners in sectors where they had suffered significant sniper casualties. Tatiana was captured alive and taken to a German position 400 meters from the original shelter. What happened in the following hours is brutally documented in report number 447 of the 100th Rifle Division, dated July 6, 1944, when the Red Army recaptured the position the next day. The reconnaissance group that arrived first found Tatiana's body outside the same shelter where she had fought. The forensic report, signed by Medical Commander Pavel Chentsov, meticulously described her wounds: deep cuts to the face and neck made with a bayonet, stab wounds to the abdomen, massive contusions to the head and ribs, and an open fracture of the right arm suggested systematic torture. However, the cause of death was the complete destruction of the skull by a 45mm cannon projectile, fired deliberately at close range. The projectile, identified as a BR-240, was typically mounted on light anti-tank weapons, but also found on captured artillery pieces the Germans used against Soviet positions. The degree of physical destruction was such that she could only be identified by her characteristic braids and uniform fragments bearing distinct sniper insignia. The anti-tank cannon impact was officially described as deliberate execution, a form of murder without precedent or military justification. The bodies of the executed Soviet soldiers were initially buried in a mass grave near the combat site. Tatiana's name was recorded as one of the irretrievable casualties of the 272nd Rifle Regiment, but her case was marked for special investigation due to the extraordinary circumstances of her death. On July 18, 1944, Colonel Zamjatin sent an urgent request to the Belarusian Front Defense Council, seeking Tatiana Baramsina's posthumous decoration as Hero of the Soviet Union. The dossier included daily combat reports, survivor testimonies, forensic photographs of the remained remains, and the complete medical report detailing every inflicted wound. The documentation from her case became crucial evidence for subsequent war crime trials. The photographs and forensic descriptions were used by Soviet investigators to document the systematic pattern of atrocities committed against prisoners of war, especially female combatants. Of all Soviet female snipers, none achieved the international renown or diplomatic recognition of Lyudmila Mikhailovna Pavlichenko. With 309 registered kills, she became the Red Army's deadliest female sniper and a key figure in Soviet propaganda during the war's most critical years. Born July 12, 1916 in Bila Tserkva, Ukraine, Lyudmila moved with her family to Kiev in 1930, as Soviet industrialization transformed Ukrainian cities. At 14, she began training at a DOSAAF-affiliated shooting club, a paramilitary organization that prepared civilians in basic military skills. This early training proved fundamental to her later development. For 7 years, Lyudmila participated in regional competitions and earned multiple certifications as an expert long-gun shooter. Her dedication to sport shooting made her one of Kiev's best civilian shooters, mastering precision techniques most soldiers took years to develop. In 1937, she enrolled at Kiev University to study history, a career that provided knowledge of military strategy, geography, and conflict analysis, perfectly complementing her shooting skills. When war broke out in 1941, she was an advanced student with a solid academic background and exceptional shooting abilities. After Operation Barbarossa began, Lyudmila volunteered at a Kiev recruitment office. Initially offered a nursing position, she insisted on being assigned as a sniper. A 400-meter shooting test immediately convinced officers. Her shots grouped in a circle less than 5 centimeters in diameter. Extraordinary precision, even by professional military standards. She was assigned directly to the 25th Rifle Division of the Red Army, one of the first units to engage in combat on the Southern Front. She received her service rifle and was sent immediately to the front lines without additional military training. Her prior preparation at the shooting club had been so thorough that she needed no basic instruction. Her baptism of fire occurred on the Odessa front between August and October 1941. During 70 days of urban defensive combat, Lyudmila operated in conditions favouring snipers, ruined buildings, debris-filled streets, and elevated positions offering command of wide battlefield sectors. Her kill record during the Odessa campaign was meticulously documented by her superiors. Each eliminated target was verified by an observer or squad member, following strict protocols ensuring statistical accuracy. During these Sendy days, she eliminated 27 enemies, including 36 Romanian and German snipers who had caused significant casualties among Soviet troops. Her technique during this phase was characterized by extreme patience and intelligent use of urban terrain. She could remain motionless for hours in the same position, waiting for targets to expose themselves enough for lethal shots. On several occasions, she eliminated 5 or more enemies from the same position before relocating. When Soviet forces were forced to evacuate Odessa in October 1941, the 25th Division was relocated to Sevastopol on the Crimean Peninsula. Here began the second phase of Lyudmila's career, marked by even more intense combat and complex operating conditions. The defense of Sevastopol extended from November 1941 to June in 42, becoming one of the most brutal sieges of the entire war. Lyudmila operated in an environment of trench warfare, underground tunnels and bombed structures, where every position had to be conquered meter by meter. Her techniques evolved to adapt to this new environment. She developed methods for using elevated positions in destroyed buildings, exploiting the irregularities of rocky terrain for concealment over days, and perfected the art of shooting from tunnels and natural caves that provided protection against enemy artillery. During this stage, she also began using the semi-automatic Tokarev SVT-40 rifle with a telescopic sight, especially in situations where rapid fire was more important than absolute precision. This change in armament allowed her to adapt to different types of combat: the standard rifle for extreme long-range precision shots, and the Tokarev for situations requiring multiple rapid shots. In the records of the 3rd Battalion 8th Regiment, it's documented that between December 1941 and February 1942, Lyudmila eliminated an additional 72 enemies, including at least 6 German snipers who had caused significant casualties in her sector. These sniper duels could stretch for days, both shooters studying each other, calculating movement patterns, waiting for the perfect moment for the definitive shot. In March 1942, she was promoted to lieutenant and authorized to lead a platoon of specialized shooters. This promotion recognized not only her individual effectiveness, but also her capacity to train and direct other snipers. By the end of May, her verified kills numbered 309, a figure officially recorded by the Southern Front staff. Her active career ended abruptly on June 2, 1942, when she was wounded by mortar shrapnel while moving to a new firing position. She was evacuated to a field hospital in Sevastopol and later transferred to the rear for medical recovery. Though she recovered physically, the General Command decided not to return her to direct combat. This wasn't due to physical incapacity, but recognition of her value as a propaganda symbol. The Soviet High Command understood Lyudmila could be more useful to the war effort as an international representative than as an individual combatant. Her personal story and military record made her the perfect candidate for diplomatic missions to Allied countries. In August 1942, Lyudmila was assigned to a Soviet delegation traveling to North America. Her objectives: establish closer diplomatic ties with the United States and Canada, generate public support for a second front in Europe, and demonstrate Soviet determination against the German invasion. The international tour began in Washington, D.C., where she was officially received at the White House by President Franklin D. Roosevelt and First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt. This meeting, extensively documented, marked a precedent: the first time a Soviet combatant was honored by an American president. During her stay in the US, Lyudmila participated in press conferences, radio interviews, and meetings with unions and women's organizations. At each public appearance, she wore her full military uniform with all her sniper insignia and visible decorations, creating a powerful visual impact that contrasted with American expectations of Soviet women. Her message was consistent and direct. She described conditions on the Soviet front, explained the urgency of opening a second front to relieve pressure on the Red Army, and provided concrete data on German casualties caused by Soviet snipers. She never made emotional statements or delved into politics beyond the specific objective of soliciting Allied military aid. In Canada, she met with army officers in Ottawa and participated in public events, where she was symbolically decorated by veterans organizations. In the United Kingdom, she visited arms factories and was received by British Army representatives, exchanging technical information on sniper tactics and specialized equipment. As a gift during her tour, she received an American-made Winchester rifle with a telescopic sight, a piece representing international recognition of her expertise. This rifle is currently preserved in the Central Museum of the Armed Forces in Moscow, part of a permanent exhibition on Soviet snipers. Upon her return to the Soviet Union in November 1942, Lyudmila was honorably received by the Commissariat of Defense. The Presidium of the Supreme Soviet awarded her the title Hero of the Soviet Union, along with the Order of Lenin and the Gold Star. Her military file was archived with a final count of 309 documented kills, without propaganda adjustments or inflated figures. After her full recovery, she was assigned as an instructor at the Central School for Snipers, where she trained new generations of shooters until 1953. Her teaching methods were based on real combat experience, and her technical reports on long-range shooting became standard manuals for Soviet snipers. The story of Nina Alexeyevna Lobkovskaya represents the logical culmination of the Soviet female sniper program, a 17-year-old who rose to command over 100 female snipers and participated in the most important military operation of World War II, the capture of Berlin. Her trajectory illustrates how the Soviet military training system could transform teenagers into lethal leaders, capable of directing complex operations in history's most intense theatre of war. Born in 1925 in Western Siberia, Nina grew up in a family directly affected by the Stalinist purges. Her father was arrested in the 37 purges, leaving her family with the stigma of being relatives of an enemy of the people. This early experience with state tragedy forged in her an iron determination that would later manifest in her military career. In 1941, barely 16, as the German invasion transformed the Soviet Union into a continental battlefield, Nina volunteered to join the army. However, her official enlistment didn't materialize until 1942, when she turned 17 and could legally be admitted to the specialized academy in Podolsk, near Moscow. Her training took place during the brutal winter of 1942-43, under conditions that eliminated any candidate without exceptional physical and mental resilience. Sources from the Russian Central Military Archive confirm that Nina passed all shooting tests with outstanding scores, mastering standard weaponry with precision that placed her among the top 5% of her class. What distinguished her from other cadets was not just her individual skill with the rifle, but her natural capacity for tactical leadership. During simulated combat exercises, she demonstrated abilities to coordinate teams, assess terrain, and make decisions under pressure, marking her as an ideal candidate for command positions. Upon graduation, she was appointed commander of a platoon composed exclusively of women, 108 elite snipers. This unit became part of the 3rd Shock Army of the Belarusian Front, a formation specialized in urban assault operations and breaking fortified lines. Nina's assignment as a platoon commander at 18 was extraordinary, even by Soviet standards, where young officers were common due to heavy casualties among command personnel. Soviet doctrine for snipers in urban warfare recognized their specific strategic value. These soldiers were to operate in advanced positions, establishing themselves in ruins, partially collapsed buildings, or elevated structures from which they could cover the advance of regular infantry troops. The female snipers under Nina's command were specifically trained to neutralize enemy observers, artillerymen, and hidden shooters in urban positions. Her first significant operation occurred during the Vistula Oder offensive between January and February 1945. Nina's platoon played a crucial role, securing river crossings and neutralizing German observation points that dominated Soviet advance routes. The operational reports of the 3rd Shock Army record the elimination of 47 enemy personnel in the suburbs of Kustrin, directly attributed to snipers under her command. Coordinating 108 snipers in simultaneous operations required exceptional organizational skills. Nina developed a signal communication system that allowed concentrated fire against multiple targets without revealing her subordinates' positions. Her methods included constant rotation of positions, coordinated use of diversionary fire, and infiltration techniques that allowed snipers to be established in enemy-controlled territory. The culmination of her career came with the final offensive on Berlin, which began in April 1945. Combat conditions in the Third Reich's capital represented the ultimate challenge for any sniper. Intensive urban combat, desperate German defences, and the need to advance metre by metre through devastated streets and fortified buildings. Nina and her platoon were deployed in the Second Soviet Offensive Ring with the specific mission of clearing sectors already taken of lingering German snipers who continued to cause casualties among advancing troops. This task required extreme patience, detailed knowledge of urban combat, and the ability to identify enemy positions camouflaged among rubble and destroyed structures. During the fighting in the Kustrin district, her unit eliminated 14 enemy shooters in 3 days of continuous operations. Nina coordinated these actions from a command position established in the building of the Ministry for Food and Agriculture, from where she could direct coordinated fire towards targets in the Tiergarten and surrounding sectors. Her personal sniper technique had been refined over years of combat. She developed specific methods for identifying enemy positions through minimal clues. Curtains moved by the wind, reflections from telescopic sights, cigarette smoke patterns, and subtle changes in the arrangement of rubble, indicating the presence of hidden shooters. This ability to read the urban battlefield made her an exceptional hunter. During the final battles around the Reichstag, between April the 28th and May 2nd, Nina participated directly in operations to suppress German sniper nests in structures surrounding the final symbolic objective. Her platoon neutralized multiple positions that threatened the Soviet assault units tasked with taking the German parliament building. Although she did not participate in placing the Soviet flag over the Reichstag, an act reserved for regular assault infantry, her unit provided lethal cover that allowed Soviet soldiers to approach the building without suffering excessive casualties from enemy sniper fire. The documents of the Third Army confirm her presence in this historic operation. Nina Lobkovskaya's official kill count totals 89 enemies personally eliminated. This figure was verified in a memorandum from the USSR Ministry of Defense archived in 1946. Targets primarily included artillery observers, machine gun operators, and enemy snipers eliminated in precision duels. Nina preferred to operate with the standard rifle equipped with a telescopic sight for extreme precision shots. But during the final phases of the war, she also adopted the semi-automatic Tokarev SVT-40 rifle, adapted for snipers. This dual armament allowed her to adapt to different types of urban combat, the primary rifle for long-range eliminations and the Tokarev for situations requiring a high rate of fire. Her characteristic technique included the intelligent use of elevated positions and constant rotation of location to avoid detection by enemy snipers. In later interviews, she stated that the key to survival was never staying more than 2 shots in the same place, a rule she had developed after observing how less experienced snipers were eliminated for staying too long in compromised positions. After the fall of Berlin and the German surrender on May 9, 1945, Nina was decorated with the Order of the Red Star, the Order of the Patriotic War First Class, and the Medal for the Liberation of Berlin.